One of the things that I teach a lot is understanding how to look at the world in the right way. And how do you do that without having perspective, right? So I want to go over the 4 stages of success to begin with. And these are the 4 stages. But everyone in this room essentially is in one of these 4 stages. And you got to be honest with yourself. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's people in this room who are in the survival stage where they could barely afford to get here. And that's okay. And I'm so glad you're here because you need to hear what we have to say. Then you have the second stage, it's called comfortable. This is a terrible stage. Then you have thriving. And then you have legacy driven. So let's dive in and let's define these a little bit real quick. So survival, you could look at it as living paycheck to paycheck. It's tough to climb out of this when you don't have the ability to predict your income, predict your success. Is that fair to say? Okay. With survival, you're at 40% of the people in the United States statistically are in this mode at the moment. And it's actually a wonderful mode to be in because isn't it cool to wake up every day and have to fight? I love it. 50% of this room most likely is close to this stage. 50% of investors or people who call themselves investors are still in this stage. And that's nothing to be ashamed of, but I just want you to understand it, right? I'm not going to read everything because there's a lot of words on here, but I'll tell you. A lot of people in this stage need to be focused on earning while they learn. There's a lot of people that have already been where you want to go, and there's a lot of ways where you can add value to their lives, and you can also deal deals with them, and you can partner with them. So I just want you to remember that. Don't neglect the fact that you need to cover your bases, okay? And find comfort in this. Survival mode is actually the easiest stage to climb out of, especially when you tap into surges of income, which is really fun, by the way. So we're going to go over that. The next stage is called comfortable. And like I said, this is the most dangerous stage to be in. A lot of people in this room are in this stage. No judgment. Raise your hand if you feel like you're comfortable. Do you know what comfortable means? It's when you really start to enjoy stuff, and you have a lot of stuff, and you're accumulating stuff, right? And that's because you have more money than you had in survival mode, and it's cool to have money, and you fought hard to get to the point where you didn't have to really stress about paying all your bills, and you have a little bit of money in the bank. But this is where you start to get a little bit of a nicer car. You went from that Toyota Corolla to the Avalon, or you went to the BMW 3 Series. Like, you're starting to get comfortable, you're feeling better about your situation. And this is a tough stage to be in, right? Most people are spending money in this stage rather than investing it. This is where a lot of people also tend to get overweight and unhealthy because this is the first time where they feel like they have a lot more choices. And if I have a choice to eat whatever I want, I'm going to eat good stuff, right? Can you relate to that? Comfortable, this is where we stop pushing as hard as we've been pushing when we were in survival mode. And instead, we should be doubling down at this time and not looking at where we are today, but where we want to go. You should be learning more, taking more action at this stage, okay? If this is where you are, you need to wake up. This is a stage called Middle America. It's called the middle class. It's the stage where there's so many people who are essentially in that no man's land. Really, you think about some countries, we're very blessed in the United States. There's a lot of countries where it's rich and poor. That's it. There's no difference. There's nothing in the middle. It's just a void. Here we have this amazing middle class, and it's great and all. But if you truly want to achieve amazing things in life, and even better, have the ability to leave a legacy-driven life where money is no longer the most important thing, you've got to be able to get out of this mode, okay? In this mode, you really haven't made it yet, although in your circle, in your sphere, in your family, in your community, it may feel that way. But I just want you to know that you can't elevate to thriving until you get off your ass and light that fire back up again. And don't be self-conscious about this. There are probably a lot of you in this room that have said, I need something to ignite me. I used to be so excited about life. I used to be so powerful. I used to wake up having to fight for what I earned. I actually enjoyed it, right? But when you get comfortable and you get complacent, it kind of gets tough, right? So take action. Stop letting the fear of losing what you've been able to get and the comfort that you've achieved guide your decisions. And that's very dangerous, right? So thriving, this is really a fun one. A lot of people in this room are thriving. Probably fewer people than you think, right? But thriving is when success starts to show a lot more symptoms and signs and evidence, and you start getting really excited about it. But this is also where fear starts to creep in. Does anybody ever get scared? Have you ever gotten a big check and you're like, holy shit, what do I do with it? And then you're thinking, you're like, wow, I don't want to lose it, so I don't want to just go do a whole bunch of stuff. And I have to kind of protect this now. And it changes the way that you look at the world. It changes the way you look at money, right? And this is also a stage where your mindset tends to get tested a lot more often. If you've never been there, you don't know. If you've been to the thriving position where you're way past comfortable and you're driving much nicer cars and your primary home is much nicer and you have quite a bit of money in the bank, you start to change the way we make decisions based off of protecting what we've accumulated rather than reaching for the next level, right? And there's a paradigm shift that most people have to have when they get here. And you got to start focus on not protecting what you have, but you should be focused on what true investors should be focused on, right? Is anybody in here in the room an investor? Raise your hand if you are an investor. Does anybody know what investor means? It may mean something different to you. Webster's dictionary, it's kind of a boring definition in my opinion. A person or organization that puts money into financial plans, property, etc., with the expectation of achieving a profit. It's one way to look at it. I look at it a little different. I say an investor is someone who's focused on leveraging his or her resources to create more resources, right? I don't like the word money. I don't think we invest just money. We invest our time, we invest our money, we invest our wisdom, we invest our network, our assets, right? You have everything in your abilities at your disposal. Are you using that, leveraging that to create more for yourself, or are you spending it? So that's what an investor is. In this stage, like I said earlier, you've got a lot more comforts. A lot of your friends think you've made it. Maybe you're the house that everyone goes to every single holiday because you have that big house. But I want to tell you that that's fun and all, but there's something even better, and I want to give you some hope, something you can shoot for. When you get to the point where you're legacy driven, right? A lot of the speakers in the room, Carl Allen just walked in. Carl is legacy driven. He's been well off or wealthy for 20-something years. He doesn't wake up every day because he needs to make money. He wakes up because he wants to help people. Pace Morby, do you wake up every day just needing to survive? No, you're here because you want to make an impact, right? Some people, you ever heard of the ripple effect? When you drop a pebble into a pond and then the ripples continue on forever. Some of these guys are dropping boulders in the ocean. They really are. That's why they're here. So legacy-driven people have already achieved high levels of success. And I want you to know that at this stage, this may not be for you. You may not be born or built for being legacy-driven, but I want you to try to shoot for it anyway. People have a transformation when they hit this stage, the new enlightened state of being, where they realize that it's not about me, and it never has been. The reason why I was put on this earth wasn't to accumulate stuff. It wasn't to drive a Mercedes-Benz. It wasn't to be able to have a nice house that people come to for holidays because we're the rich people in the family. It's not to be comfortable. It's not to make sure that we never have to starve again. That's true, and if anybody who's ever been starving, you understand how real that really is. But there's so much more. People who are more focused on impact and letting that drive their decisions. And what's interesting, people who are more impact focused, who have already reached this legacy-driven state, interestingly enough, the more people they help, the more money they make.